So as an arts organization, we recognize that creativity and culture are deeply rooted in place. So I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that SOLA's work takes place on the unceded lands of the Coast Salish peoples. Specifically, we are located in Seattle, and the Duwamish, Suquamish, Stillaquamish, and Muckleshoot tribes they have stewarded this region for generations, and we offer our respect and gratitude to the original artists and storytellers that embodied this land and whose legacy continues to inspire and guide us. So I'm guessing that some of you have heard some of the news and the transitions of what's happening at SOLA. So before we begin, I just want to start with the acknowledgement of the passing of someone very dear to SOLA community, our co-founder, board leader, and dear friend, Marge Levy, passed on Saturday morning peacefully with her husband, Larry, by her side. She was a force of nature. She was curious, creative, generous, and most of all, she was bold. Nothing stopped her. Everything inspired her. And her laughter could fill a room. Her vision helped shape SOLA into what it is today. And we are a community devoted to recognizing mature women artists and ensuring that your stories are seen and heard. And her last message to me was simply celebrate and laugh. So as we gather here tonight, we embody that joy as much as possible. I also want to recognize that there is pain alongside with this. So through that pain, we have lots of art to make, and she continues to inspire us in all the ways. So I'd like to take just a moment in silence to honor Marge and carry forward that generosity and joy and creativity that she embodied. So our conversation tonight is, again, built on the incredible legacy that both Marge Levy and Jenny Ruffner gave us with their incredible relationship. Tonight, we're going to be talking about building strong, lasting relationships between galleries and artists. These relationships are grounded in trust and care and shared purpose. And it feels especially meaningful to have this conversation now with the work that Jenny and Marge did in this community and the work that we're all doing together. So I'm honored to welcome Sarah Traver, someone who truly exemplifies that spirit. Sarah is the director of Traver Gallery and Vetri here in Seattle and has over 21 years in the gallery, and she's organized more than 750 exhibitions. She's worked with over 500 artists from around the world. Her career has been dedicated to supporting artists and connecting them with audiences, helping artists share their work and build their careers, and helping collectors and visitors engage deeply more with contemporary art. And Sarah has served on the boards of numerous arts organizations, including she was the president of the board at Artist Trust. I think we were actually there around the same time. And she's currently the president of the Seattle Art Dealers Association. She earned degrees in art and art history from the UW. That's the local way of saying that. And she has a master's degree in education from Bank Street College in New York City, where she taught for several years as well. So most recently, Sarah led the fantastic relocation of both Traver Gallery and Vetri after a 32-year beautiful run in downtown Seattle. But now there's this new creative hub in the historic Maritime District. And I'm so excited for this. It's an absolutely gorgeous building, gorgeous space. And I just want to welcome you, Sarah, and recognize that your thoughtful leadership and deep commitment to artists is really appreciated in our area and beyond. Thank you so much for joining us, and excited to get this conversation started.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm really happy to be here. I am sorry that it is just a couple days after the passing of our really dear friend Marge. She was someone I was really close to and who I admired a great deal. She exemplified what a powerful woman leader could look like in the arts, and broke through a lot of glass ceilings, and did so fearlessly, and gonna miss her a great deal. So just want to say that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think I'm getting all kinds of messages that say exactly the same thing.
Yeah, she was a badass, completely.
Totally.
Every conversation I had with her, I learned so much. So I miss her a lot.
You know, she had a 60-year career in the arts, and both her and Jenny moved to, we were having this conversation just before, moved to Seattle in roughly 85, and Marge was somewhere around that. I will figure that out soon. But I mean, you kind of grew up with them.
I totally did. I absolutely grew up with them. Yeah, they have always been in my world.
Yeah.
And, showing me the way, frankly.
Yeah. Wow. What great leaders. So we were again talking a little bit before, Traver Gallery and Jenny had a close ongoing relationship, Jenny Ruffner. Can you tell me a little bit about that relationship, how it started, maybe how it evolved, and what made it work or not?
Yeah, I mean, so in my experience, Jenny was part of my world for as long as I can remember. I mean, I was born in 79, and I think Jenny moved to Seattle in the mid 80s, like you said, like 85 or so. And so my world that I experienced in the gallery, Jenny was always a part of it. But I was chatting with my pops in preparation for this call, and he was sharing that, when she came to Seattle, she came in she came in hot, I think.
She went from Georgia.
Not shy. She showed up in Seattle, and she made her presence known, and she was at all of the events, all Traver Gallery things, all the Pilchuck things. She was teaching Pilchuck up teaching lamp working up at Pilchuck, and was I think the first artist, I think, to use borosilicate in that capacity, which was kind of transformational for the lamp working community. And anyway, she was just always around. Interestingly, my dad showed her work in the gallery maybe 4 or 5 years after she moved to Seattle, and it was a show that was both Ginny Ruffner and Tom Robbins, the novelist, and they were a couple at the time, and they did a collaborative body of work. And so there was an exhibition of that work at Traver Gallery, and then I think maybe one other Ruffner exhibition. And then she went on to show at Linda Ferris Gallery, where she showed for a lot of years. And I mean, kudos to her, because to show at Linda Ferris Gallery was like a big frickin' deal. It was not, it was really amazing that she had that platform. And I think that, I'm sure that was part of what kind of launched her into getting museum shows and having national and international recognition.
Mhm.
And amazing. So she showed at Linda's gallery for a long time, and then showed at some East Coast galleries as well. And then I think when Linda's gallery closed, Ginny tried a couple different other galleries, including Woodside Braces, and it wasn't until the 2000s when I was at the gallery
Mhm.
that she came back to Traver in earnest. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so on it, I didn't, I mean, in my memory, like Ginny was always around. So I thought like there
Right.
was a much longer kind of exhibition history with Traver Gallery. That it wasn't the case. Like she really started showing meaningfully at Traver Gallery in the early 2000s. So
Wow. Well, this is a great conversation for us to have then. Thank you for that background. I didn't know. I mean, I knew she was at Linda Ferris, but as I am supporting the project managers that are going through her collection right now and looking at all the work, I found an inventory list from early on where, Jenny had show at Traver Gallery. So really great to know this history. Thank
yeah,
you.
and I'm sure she was in lots of group shows. I mean, she was
Yeah.
such a part of the community, right?
Yes.
So I think that that's an interesting example of how an artist can kind of fluidly move within the community and work with different galleries but maintain these incredibly close relationships. Like it wasn't contentious ever. It was always really like a supportive, dynamic relationship.
Yeah. And then her work probably changed a little bit while she was there too. Do you recall how the
For
work went?
sure.
Yeah. Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about
I
that.
mean, I think the first show that I worked with her on, she was doing the like aesthetic engineering stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So really looking at doing the drawing and then the both the bronze and glass pieces that were about these sort of um genetically like hypothetical engineered
Yeah.
creations, right?
Right.
And yeah, I mean, that's very different from some of the work that I know of Ginny's from the 80s, 90s,
Mm-hmm.
which were still fantastic and imaginative and
Yeah.
over the top, but
Oh, always.
yeah.
That was her thread that went through everything. Was she still at Linda Ferris Gallery, or was Linda Ferris Gallery still around when you were getting
No,
started with Traver? It had
no,
already. So I was
yeah.
curious if she was showing one body of work with Linda Ferris and then, the aesthetic engineering that was more works on paper, maybe bringing in more sculpture but
I bet somebody on this call knows when Linda Ferris Gallery
I,
closed. I'm
I bet
looking at Lauren
so.
Grossman right now, wondering if she knows. But
Yeah.
but no,
Yeah.
I think I kind of came into the Seattle gallery scene a little bit after that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, but that conversation that many artists, they have different bodies of work that we're talking about, and sometimes a gallery recognizes one body of work while another one recognizes another. I know a couple galleries right next to each other that were showing one artist, and one has one body of work and another has another. Do you want to speak to the themes that a gallery has, and I guess the real question is, how does an artist know what to present to a gallery? What body of work? How do you choose out of everything that you're doing? What's the best way to present a body of work to a gallery, or what body of work do you choose?
Sure. I mean, I think a good gallery has a point of view. And there's something that there are stories that they're interested in telling, or there is there's a thread that runs through the work that they represent for sure. And generally, I think that that has a lot to do with the gallery owner or the gallery director.
Mhm.
It's pretty personal. I mean, these are small businesses, right?
Right.
And there's usually a very small team of people who are working there, and there's one person who's kind of at the head of that. And and also that gallery is working to build relationships with collectors. And so that point of view needs to be it needs to be somewhat consistent. You can't be all over the map if you want a group of collectors to kind of understand what you're doing and be bought in and be educated by you
Mm.
and really understand like what the artists that you're representing are going for. And so, I always encourage artists to really try and look at galleries like through that lens. Like, what is it that this gallery is doing? What is it they do exceptionally well that is different from other galleries?
Mhm.
You know, and so for Traver Gallery, we work with artists who work with materials. I mean, that's the most simple way that I can describe that. And so mostly that means we work with sculptors, people
Mm.
who are engaging with materiality in meaningful ways. So whether that is an artist working with glass or an artist working with wood or an artist working in metals, they're they're really discovering the medium that they're working with, and probing and questioning and trying new things and seeing how they as an artist are in conversation with the materials that they're working with. And I think that that's a little
Mm.
bit different than a gallery that's working with painters, for example, or
Mm.
photographers or
Mm.
artists that, or maybe it's a gallery that's really just probing conceptual work. So, I think that's really the first thing that I encourage artists to look at is,
Mhm.
what is that gallery doing? What's the story they're telling? How do they work with artists? And does my
Yeah,
work fit in with that story?
beautiful. That's exciting. I love to hear the way that you're talking about working with materials, and I think there are some painters out there that might disagree that that's separate
I'm sure there is, and
from
honestly,
sculptors.
we chose some painters that I think really engage materiality in an interesting way. So, but
Yes.
like at our crux, like that's what, like I
Yes.
want that to be sort of the baseline.
Right. And so many times, you do have a bunch of different sculptors, and artists working in different materials. But is there a theme that you want is there a range that you have those artists working within? Like not everybody's doing sculptures of, you know, nature.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I I usually like to go where the artists go, honestly, and
Hmm.
that's a lesson that
Hmm.
I learned from my dad.
Mm.
So when I think that that's something he did exceptionally well, and that something that I think the gallery has done exceptionally well over the years is let the artists show us where, like, where are we going?
Mm.
Um, what is the thing that we need to be looking at next?
Mm.
That's what artists do, right? They're
Hmm.
leading this sort of thought process and response to the world that we're living in. And
Mm.
um, so we try and go where the artists go. Um,
That
and
is so inspirational. Thank you for doing that.
sometimes it's a little bit scary, but
Yeah.
it's always fun. It's always super fun.
Yeah. So if you're, I mean, I love that. I love that you are letting, in fact, following where the artist is going, despite, your collectors or despite the themes, maybe not totally despite them.
Mhm.
But what's the main theme? What, from a gallery's perspective, what qualities or practices make for a strong and lasting relationship with an artist?
I don't think theme has anything to do with it for me.
Hmm.
I really am pretty open when an artist approaches me. Um, I don't know that I would want to represent an artist that was, you know, super right wing or pro Trump or anything, but uh,
Choice.
but uh, but I definitely am pretty open on the theme aspect of it. For
Yeah.
me, the more determining thing is looking at an artist's body of work, looking at their studio practice, understanding how dedicated they are to their work.
Mm.
You know, how professional they are, honestly.
Hmm.
How do they
Hmm.
approach, you know, working with a gallery and meeting
Mm.
deadlines and,
Mm.
um, you know, all of these little things that make it possible to be really successful. Um,
Hmm.
it's pretty hard to put together a successful show if everything's coming together at the very last minute and you don't have images in time to do your marketing and you don't have
Hmm.
but I have to say the vast majority of artists that I get to work with are
Mm.
uh, super professional and
Yeah.
on top of things. And uh, you know, we send an art, like an exhibition letter out in advance of a show and with dates and deadlines, and they put those things on their calendar, and those dates and deadlines get met, and for the most part things go smoothly.
Crossing fingers. So artists have to show up as good partners too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. And, communicating, setting, getting their deadlines. Um, what else is there something about legacy and documentation that we can slide in here? Having, I mean, when we're doing calls for art, we are told show your best photographs. Is there anything that artists can do in the everyday to prepare for their legacy? Or another addendum to that is, what sort of platform does an artist need to have already in order to get into an established gallery like Traver?
Okay, I think I'll break that into two questions,
That's
Nicole.
fair. Thank you.
So the first one, in terms of like archiving and legacy and like imagery and documentation, I mean, I feel like Ginny was a great example of how artists do this. Another amazing artist that we lost earlier this year, Jane Rosen, great example of how artists do this. Um, you know, really like approaching this as a career. Like
Yeah.
this is not something I do on the side. Like this is my career, and I am documenting all of the work that you
Hmm.
make that you're going to keep. You know,
Hmm.
obviously a lot artists make and dispense with plenty of work too. That's fine. That's great. But
Yeah.
really documenting, having a good digital archive. I mean,
Mm.
that's really important. Even if it's a paper archive, whatever, fine, an archive where there's some place that you can go back to and see what was this piece, what year was it made, what galleries was it shown at, you know, all of that. The provenance of a piece is really important. And the
Hmm.
gallery relies on being able to get that information for sure. And the gallery also has that. I mean, once a piece comes into the gallery inventory, if it's a reputable gallery, they have a database of information that they can dig through as well, and that can be a resource for the artist. But I do think as an artist, maintaining your own records is a
Hmm.
huge piece of what you can do. And that,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I have a little experience with having
Mm.
to encounter like estate planning with artists or
Mm.
dealing with estates with artists in the last year. And it's complicated. It's complicated for the people who, your family members who come in after you're gone and have to sort through everything and understand what the values were and get
Mm.
tax appraisals on everything and like get sales records. And so again, like, you know, working with reputable galleries that, you know, those lawyers can go to the gallery and say, hey, give me a record of everything that you sold in the last 10 years with images. That's a key piece of it. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a big deal. I can't emphasize that enough. I know it's a pain in the butt to do, but it's really important. really important.
I think it's nobody wants to do it because I don't think anybody wants to look at the end. It's
Yeah.
like none of us get out of this alive. We're very aware. More and more, we all have someone in our lives that, well, including ourselves. So, and then we think of the word legacy. And so, isn't the gallery relationship, how invested are you as a gallery in creating that legacy? What is it that as a gallery you do for artists, and what does the artist need to come with in addition to knowing how much, where their work has been and keeping that record? What can we do as far as legacy building, and
Yeah,
what
I
does
mean, I think
the gallery do?
that's tricky. That's really tricky. I
Mhm.
mean, the work that you make has value, right? Like it has actual value. And so do the tax appraisers really understand? No, they don't necessarily. And so being able to establish value is an important thing. So having sales records, et cetera, to back up that, these works are not just hobby things, because you're dealing with people who really don't know the first thing about it. And then working with a gallery, whether it's, you know, the, in some cases you're working with the kids of a
Mhm.
deceased artist, and continuing to show the work, or the
Mhm.
spouse of a deceased artist and continuing to show the work, and that money goes to this any sales from that work go to the estate.
Mhm.
And that's definitely something we've done, and
Yeah.
it's important. But there's also things like the Artist Legacy Project, which is something that I know Squeak Carnwath is involved with. It's in the
Right.
Bay Area, um, and specifically set up as a organization to help individual artists who know that the remainder of their artistic estate has value. Like, what do they do with that? How do
Mhm.
they contend with? I think Viola Frey was the other person who was really involved,
Right.
and her
Yes.
her work ultimately went to the Artist Legacy Project. And so they then handle that remaining body of work and work with institutions that want to show it, work with galleries that want to show it. The sales of the work, I'm not sure how it breaks down exactly, but like some percentage goes back to the estate, some percentage goes to the Artist Legacy Project, some
Mhm.
percentage goes to whatever, I'm not sure. But so,
Mhm.
there are a couple organizations that do help with that stuff. Not many.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of work on your own, but Zola has some resources on our YouTube channel about legacy building, and we're building more and more all the time. So please reach out to us if you have other questions. Sarah, we're talking about the details, being a good partner. What should an artist expect from a gallery?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Nicole. I mean, so I'm sure all of you know this, the standard gallery artist commission is 50-50. And I think you should expect your gallery to earn their commission, basically. And that means, not only giving you a space to exhibit the work, a beautiful space to exhibit the work in, but connections to clients and audience, access to a substantial mailing list, and events, opportunities to personally connect with people, connections to designers and other professionals in the field. Um, yeah, at, also help with writing grants, help
Mm,
with
mm,
applications to fellowships or residency programs. I can't tell you how much I do that. I love doing it. It's a fun part of the job to
yeah.
be able to write recommendations for people who are applying for really cool opportunities, and say from the gallery perspective how that can impact that artist's career and what that means in terms of leveling up their work, or just even having an opportunity to have time and space to develop a project.
Yeah.
Those are really important things. And a gallery should, I think, do those things for you. And be support, if questions come up, if you have tax questions or business questions or questions about dealing with, other galleries, any of that stuff, like they should be a resource for you.
Wow, that's incredible. And it's only 50%.
Yes. I mean, and this has been a really kind of contentious topic online recently. I think,
Mm,
especially as artists are finding that they're representing themselves more and more
mhm,
in spaces like Instagram or TikTok or wherever.
mhm.
I think that it does get called more and more into question, like, what's the gallery actually doing to me, and how are they earning their commission, and why would I do this? I hope that we as a Traver Gallery prove ourselves. But I do think, you know, uh, there's a real value in having
Yeah.
a meaningful, deep relationship with a gallerist or a gallery,
Mhm.
um, and developing that over the course of your career or for some part of your career. Like it can be a hugely important thing, and frankly take a lot of work off your plate, like all that
Mhm. Yeah.
administrative crap that you don't want to do, like dealing with sales tax or writing up invoices, all that stuff. Like that's the stuff we do. We
Yeah.
do record keeping, we work directly with the clients, we do the negotiating, we have the uncomfortable conversations about discounts and shipping and
Mm.
blah blah blah. That's on us, and I hope my artists feel like they can just be like, hey, this person contacted me, deal with it.
I would hand you my clients in a second. So tell us about those relationships. How do we build those relationships with gallery? Um, I mean, you mentioned that Jenny, is all at all of the shows and maybe not even represented at Traver when she was at them. So is it just going to the exhibitions together? What makes us a good relationship?
I mean, for sure, showing up, showing up, showing up, showing up. That's a big piece of it. Um, get in front of people, get to know the galleries, get to know the other artists. That's
Mhm.
huge. I can't stress that enough. I think
Yeah.
the majority of new artists that I take on, I get to know through personal connections, whether it's through an
Mm,
artist recommending them, just probably the number one way. If one of my
okay.
artists comes to me and says, hey, you should take a look at this person's work, I never, never don't listen to that. Uh,
Yeah.
Similarly, clients saying that. And and then also just getting to know people on a personal level, like just a familiarity. And then you're having conversations and you're getting to know, like, oh, this is a really interesting person and I'm curious about what they do. And I feel like now I know this person kind of as a friend. And so I'm inclined to go over for a studio visit and learn more. And I mean, it goes a huge distance. So
Yeah. Fantastic. It's really great to know that recommendations are really strong and it's from artists, maybe from collectors as well, but artists in your gallery right now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm. So, you want to tell us a little bit about social media?
I mean,
Um,
social media is a can of worms.
yes, yes, but
Uh, yeah, I
I,
mean, I think it's really, I don't know. I mean, it's a mixed bag. Like, I don't do a lot of social media. I hire
yeah,
somebody to do our social media. I don't
yeah,
post really any gallery things on my own personal account just because I don't enjoy it. And it's not how I choose to spend my time.
mhm,
However, I recognize that as an individual artist, like it can be a game changer,
yeah, that visibility.
yeah, I don't think it is often, but it can
Hmm.
be a game changer.
Hmm.
And so posting your work online where other people can see it is is great. And I will admit that I definitely go down little Instagram rabbit holes looking at
Uh-huh.
artwork, and one thing leads to another, and I definitely discover things. I'm not sure
Yeah.
I've ended up representing an artist through that, but I've
Mhm.
definitely followed people and been curious and seen things that are interesting to me. So I think it is an important part of an artist practice, is
Yeah.
being visible out in the world, right?
Hmm.
Whether that's going to gallery openings and getting to know people, or posting things on social media.
Hmm.
Um, and it's tiresome and exhausting, but it's worth doing. Yeah.
But we're passionate. We're
Yes.
passionate
Yes.
about our art. We're passionate about expressing ourselves and being seen and heard and making wonderful relationships with individuals like yourself. So, do you want to tell us, is there anything about representation as it evolves over time, or have we already talked about that? We
I
kind of
mean, for
referenced it in
sure.
general.
Well, I don't know if we've talked about it.
Okay.
I, from my perspective as a gallerist, and again, this is something I learned from my dad, so kudos, Bill Traver, is
Thank you, Bill.
like you don't take representation lightly. Like, I'm not taking on representation of an artist to show their work one or two or three times. I'm taking on representation of an artist because I want to see the entire trajectory of their career and I want to be part of it. Um,
Hmm.
that doesn't need to be written in stone by any means. People change, relationships change, people move on
Hmm.
and do other things. But for the most part, it's really about like being there for each other and being in that
Yeah.
open dialogue with each other, seeing where the artist is going, seeing what they're doing in their studio, being excited about trying something new, and uh, giving them a chance to show it, like,
Yeah.
and sometimes that's hard and complicated and involves moving really big, heavy things and hanging them from ceilings and doing scary stuff, but it's totally worth it. That's what it's about. And so, really, it's when we decide to work with an artist, it's with the intention of it being a very long, enduring relationship. I
Yeah.
will say that that is predicated on it being um, an honest relationship and an open dialogue. And I think that that's a huge part of a good gallery artist relationship, is that you can talk to each other, from
Hmm.
the perspective of the gallerist, like knowing an artist personally, knowing kind of who they are, their personality, what makes them tick, little stories about them, um, who they're married to, what vacation they've just been on, what food they like to eat.
Mm.
Like, all of
Mm.
that plays into my ability to represent them well. And
Yeah.
and I really can't do that if there's not an open dialogue.
Hmm.
And so that kind of friendship at the core of that relationship is really important, I think.
That's great. One of the questions in the chat is, when an artist introduces themselves to you, what do you look for in that artist or their body of work? What is your checklist? So I think, in a way, you sort of not specifically answered that one, but you want to know about the person.
Yeah. Yeah,
And so,
I mean, and to be perfectly clear, I really only
yeah,
want to work with people that I like, who I think are really wonderful people. Like, it's
nice.
really, frankly, impossible to represent well an artist's work if you don't like that
Sure.
person.
Thank you for being very clear
I
about
mean,
that.
it's too, maybe some other gallerist can do it, but I can't do it. Like, I
Yeah.
really need to think of you as like somebody I deeply respect.
Mm,
And I am very lucky that I get to work with so many amazing artists who I deeply respect
yeah.
and adore.
Yeah. I think that there are so many people, even on this call. In fact, all of them, I'm sure, are deeply respected in one way or another in their
Totally.
lives and in their career. So it's got to be difficult to make those selections. But I want to make sure, due to time, that we answer some questions. I'm just
Sure.
going to go through the chat. Um, this is a really obvious one. What is the best way for artists to get a gallery to look at their work? And we mentioned the connections, personal connections. If you know other artists at galleries, maybe a collector might recommend you. Maybe I was thinking maybe social media might be a way. We hear those great tales all the time, artists at galleries from social media. Is there anything else that you could think of?
I mean, I guess, we get a lot of emails from
Mm,
artists who are looking for representation. And, um, sometimes that is how you have to do it. Like if there's a gallery out
mhm,
there and you aren't in the same town as them. And I think what in that case opens doors for me is when that artist writes a thoughtful email about why they think their work is a good fit for the gallery. I
mhm.
think that's a really good way to kind of get somebody to pay attention, sit up and pay attention, be like, oh, okay, well, they looked at what we're doing, or they had a thought about like what the gallery is doing and how their work fits in. That's cool.
Yeah, we thank you. We do have a question. How do you recommend that an artist that's otherly abled, needs accessibility or has limited ability and can't network in person? What are some ways that you might recommend for them to build those relationships?
Yeah. I mean,
That's a
I
tough
think
one.
Ginny is a great
Mm,
example of
thank you.
that.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
mean, wow, she had so many struggles in her life and things that she had to overcome. And wow, did she do it gracefully?
Yeah.
Just from how she found other ways to work,
Hmm.
literally to work and create art was extraordinary. But also just um, being in her case, she was able to come out to the openings, and I know that it's not the case for everybody. But
Right.
she came out bravely, and she often had somebody with her who could kind of help
Yeah.
facilitate a conversation with somebody who had a difficult time understanding her.
Right.
Or and I thought that was great, and she was so brave for doing that. But I think
Yeah.
there's so much technology that is at
Yeah.
our service right now that using those resources really. So
Yeah.
Ginny was really using those resources in terms of thinking about how she could be the one creating these visions that she had, like what her creative ideas. She couldn't actually do the lamp working or the physical painting anymore, but
Hmm.
man, if she couldn't work on the computer and make that stuff come to life. And I think
Yeah.
that's just a great example. And I think, Zoom, other ways of engaging with audience, they're all on the table now. And that is a
Yeah.
great benefit to everybody.
Thank you so much for bringing it up, Jenny. And I drove that minivan somewhere a couple times just to make sure she made it to her space. And the world just you put the right passion into something and just it shows up.
Yeah.
The world shows up for you. It really does. And she was dedicated and a force, again, a force of nature that you just couldn't say no to. So never, never give up. We're getting a lot of salutes for you doing the amount of work that you do for your artists. And um, I think we talked about what a gallery can expect from the artist a little bit. Yeah. Robin, you've been sort of watching the chat. Have I missed something really important rather than me spending time scrolling?
There's some that
Sure.
are kind of an easy answer. So
Sure.
one is the artist guaranteed by the gallery to have a certain amount of solo or group shows annually?
So I wouldn't say guaranteed because I think that every artist wants something different. My general rule of thumb is I try to give every artist a solo show every 2 years. So that's what we work with. There's a couple artists that want to do a show every year, and there's several artists that want to do a show every 3 or 4 years. So it just really is on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, my goal is to have a stable of artists and a show calendar that allows for anyone who wants to show every other year to have that opportunity.
Great.
Thank you. Another one we have is, how often do you have one-on-one meetings with an artist you represent, or do you let it fold organically?
Definitely somewhat organically. Like there's not like some calendar of events where we're like, but you know, I do have a gallery manager who does nudge me about certain things. So if there's a show upcoming, we're definitely having meetings more often. And then, you know, the strongest relationships I have with artists are the ones where we're just talking on a regular basis. You know, it maybe it's not a meeting, but it's a text message or a check-in, or they come by the gallery with a family member just to say hi, or, you know, whatever. I mean, there's just that sort of natural engagement with each other. And then, yeah, like I said, if a show is upcoming, then there is definitely a more kind of regular meeting schedule.
Thank you.
Thanks. There's one that just came in. How important is artist statements?
I mean, I think they're important. They're important, particularly for an exhibition. They really help the gallery understand what the artist's point of view is, even if we're having conversations, just sort of the distillation of an idea into an artist statement is really helpful. And that helps us write our press releases, and it helps us talk about the work in a concise and meaningful way. And I think there are definitely collectors and museums and other organizations that like them. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I think it's important that artists should have them. I think that is another resource where the gallery can be used, right? Like, use us to help write an artist statement. We know the sort of structure and formula. We can help edit. We can help do that kind of work. You know, they should be pretty short and to the point.
Nice.
Thank you for that.
We just had a question from Fidelma, our new board president. Welcome. Do you have exclusive engagements with your roster of artists? And if so, how long? And is it renewed regularly?
We do. We generally have, it's not anything. Okay, there are some artists that I have like total exclusivity with. That is very rare. And in those cases, there's a pretty formal contract written about that. For the most part, we ask for regional exclusivity with our artists while we're working with them. And that is a contract that can be, you know, canceled by either party with like 90 days notice. And regional exclusivity in our case generally means Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and British Columbia, and maybe Northern California. And then there's some artists that we work with that we don't have those agreements with. I would say the majority of artists that we work with, the expectation is that if you're showing with us, you're not showing with another gallery in the region, and that the sales will go any potential sales that happen in that geographic space, collectors that come directly to the artist, that those sales will go through the gallery.
Great. Thank you. That's, well, for all that you do, I would give you again. You do the work. So Sarah, with this new location that you have that I'm so excited, oh man, I would just hang out there all the time. Tell us about this new location a little bit and what it means for the gallery's evolution. And I'd love to hear about your next show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the new location is fantastic. We're absolutely loving it. It was a huge undertaking to move a gallery that shows primarily sculpture after 32 years. You don't want to know how much
No.
you collect. But we did it, and it feels very much like kind of starting with a clean slate and in a really beautiful spot. And we're, for anybody who hasn't been there yet, we're down on the Ship Canal off of the north edge of Queen Anne. And so like the building is an old seafood cold storage building. And it's just has so much potential. I mean, it's on 7 acres of property. So there's opportunities for artists to do outdoor installations. There's a huge interior space that is just like begging for somebody to come and do a cool project in. And yeah, we're having a great time. It's really fun for me after having been in our old space for so many years. You get really comfortable mounting shows in a particular kind of way, like you know the space so well. So having a new space is like, I see all the art anew. It's really fun.
Really good.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. Anyway, it's great. There was our next show is by a SOLA grant recipient, and that is Miss Lauren Grossman, who is on this call. Hi, Lauren. And we are super excited. It's called Talk Show. It opens on November 1st, I think. Is that right, Lauren? Okay. Yeah. So it'll be up for the month of November. Solo show. It's going to be amazing. There's some really, really cool new work, and including an interactive piece.
Ooh.
Or 3. I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be great.
So excited for that. Congratulations, Lauren.
Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you both for the dedication that's necessary in order to make this exhibition happen, to make every exhibition happen. There's, the cultural history of this area is rich, and it's rich because of galleries like Traver Gallery that have dedicated so much time. There's so much turnover in galleries.
Yeah.
And
we're going to be 50 years old in 2027.
That's amazing. And just thank you for that. And all that you've provided and all the artists that you've supported and will support, because I think you're just getting started. So we have about 3 minutes left, and I'm just wondering, as someone who knew both Ginny and Marge personally and professionally, what do you think their legacies teach us about relationships in the art world?
Oh man, those two, so amazing. Just the way they showed up in the world as artists, as community members, as art supporters, as it's hard to put in words how big of an impact that they had.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say, but both of them just total powerhouses and joyful human beings, and showing up to everything with a sense of like can do, and we're going to make shit happen. Let's go. There was not a problem that they couldn't solve. I, personally just so inspired by both of them. I can't say enough about what it meant to be an up and coming woman in this field, and having them to look up to and seek advice from, and both of them just candor and intelligence and curiosity through and through. Just incredible women.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what they built at SOLA is they did it together, but they didn't do it alone. And so I love seeing all these faces on this call and seeing so many leaders here that have information that you can bring your candor, you can bring your can-do attitude to share with someone younger. You can also be someone younger that says, I want to support another person, this idea of community, that we don't have to do this alone. In fact, the art world you might be in your studio alone, but after that, it is about being together in community and doing this together. So I encourage everyone to go to galleries, work on your artist statements together, work on documentation together, film each other, do fun stuff on social media together. It is about the passion and the liveliness that I was so inspired by and continue to be inspired by working so closely with Ginny and Marge that, boy, they did a lot of stuff together, and they gave a lot of information and generosity, and they built this community so that we can all do better, be more recognized as women in the art world. So there's not much stopping us.
Well, I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that if anything, it reinforces that, like, just reach out to people and ask questions, and like, we're all here as a resource for each other. And you know, it is a community for sure. And so,
yeah, well, I hope to see you on November 1st. What time is that opening? Or does it
3 to 5 on November 1st?
Okay, so that must be a Saturday.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Okay, 3 to 5, Traver Gallery on the waterfront in the Maritime District on Saturday, November 1st. Lauren, congratulations again. Sarah, I really appreciate you just as a person, all that you've done. Please give a warm thanks to Bill and your mom for starting it all. And thank you so much for the conversation tonight and helping us understand just a little bit more about building the artist-gallery relationship.
You bet. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.